All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. Diana, how you been?
I've been good.
Good to have you back. You're the first one I've had come back for a second round. Yeah.
Except your brother.
Except my brother. It's
Yeah.
not like I have people begging to come on this either. I don't have a list of folks, but for somebody to reach out and say, "Hey, I'd like to come on," is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to do any of the footwork, so
Right,
it
right.
made my life easier. So good to see you. How are you?
I am good. I get to the point where life is way better than the last time we talked. I was in the turmoil.
Yeah,
You know,
you back and forth. You went back
yeah.
to Florida, then you came back
The-
to Utah.
I think at that time I went to Arizona and then I just came back to Utah and then I flew to I moved to Miami for 9 months, and
Yeah.
then I just been back here for another 10 months. So I can't get enough of Utah.
What brought you back?
I mean, family, mom and dad, they're declining.
Sure, sure.
So I had to be there, and it's hard to find good people these days, and it's just that at the time where they are at today, where they're forgetting everything, like just daily thing.
Yeah.
It's becoming harder and harder for Andrew. He's my brother, my
Yeah.
brother now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool. That's cool.
yeah. So
Sometimes
it's
that happens.
I know,
You know?
we built this little family that I would never really thought I could find here.
Sure.
So how about you? How are you?
I'm good, just busy with life and trying to get through winter. I don't know what it is about this winter, but
Yeah.
it has made me very like doom and gloomy.
I mean,
And I'm usually
winter
pretty
is like that.
I'm pretty good about it. Last year I was really good about it,
Mm-hmm.
but this year I think just because I've been working a lot
Mm-hmm.
since uh when since November, December, January. It's just we lost a person at work,
Oh,
so everybody's been cranking overtime,
yeah.
and it just feels like it's nonstop.
It's
You
like
know?
good for the money, but not good for the soul.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just sitting inside all the time. You know.
And then you come out and it's dark
Yeah, and then
anyway.
it's dark. I think it's very like seasonal sadness, depression.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know lately because the sun hasn't been.
I know.
I
It's
just
been
been
shy.
yeah, it's kind of been rough. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
like energy is like
Yeah.
low level. But other than that, life is pretty good compared to the rest of the world.
I
And
mean, like we can't really
I know, we really can't. I can
We
sit
can't
here and be like, oh
compare.
man, my biggest problem is the weather making me sad.
Right.
Dude, oh man, poor you.
Right.
Poor me.
I always see that as human beings, we have different tolerance in pain.
Yeah.
You know, those ones that grew up into much harder life, they can have a really good tolerance and pain, but pain and suffering. And then there are those people that grow up with luxury in life. Like, I'm not saying like all America is luxury, because there's struggles here, just different struggles. What I found out is that they have pretty much kind of like the same span,
Hmm.
but they start at this different level. So if the people from the third world country started from here in the bottom, and
Hmm.
that's their pain tolerance, and they can take as much as there, right? But then the people that grow up in the first world country starts from here, and they can take as much as pain as
Yeah.
you know. But then it's like, what this person feels here in the bottom is the same pain as here,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. I think we all eventually feel kind of the same pain.
Mm-hmm.
Um and yeah, I don't even know how to speak on that. That's a good observation.
Yeah.
But man, some people come from the bottom of
Yeah.
complete nothing and nothing bothers them. All
Right.
good. All good, brother.
I'll go jump off the
Yeah.
border and I'll be fine in
Yeah.
America.
It almost feels like those people who start from complete nothing
Mm-hmm.
and get to even something remotely like stable.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like those are the more stronger people,
They can seem
or they can
like,
seem. Yeah.
yeah, because just like what I said, it's the same pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same pain. It's just that your pain is, for example, like I think we tackled this the last podcast that we had, is that, oh, I didn't have internet. It's not like a really good Wi-Fi. My life is sucks.
Yeah. It
Compared to like
does suck.
yeah, compared to like, oh, I grew up with no television and all of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's a very different, like kind of similar pain but different. But then, like how it affects your body, your overall function, like day to day, it's pretty much the same.
True.
That's
Yeah.
the scary part about mental health, is that even though a lot of people in the third world country doesn't really pay attention to it, but here in America we pay attention to it. And then, like they didn't know how bad it's affecting them physically. you know
Yeah.
Only in America we find out that stress can actually cause you hives, like it can reflect into your physical body,
Yeah.
because your brain doesn't really know what's the difference between this kind of pain and physical pain. Like your brain just read it as pain.
True.
So yeah.
Yeah, mental health. I know that's what we want to talk about.
Mhm.
And we could talk about that for as long as you like. Um, I think it affects, I think 99.9% of the world nowadays.
Yeah, most especially with social media.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's getting away scot-free too much anymore, besides maybe my parents' generation. I
Mm,
forget, was that maybe Gen X?
I don't know their
Yeah.
generation, but I envy their generation.
Yeah, they're that last line of like before the internet took off.
Yeah, and then the internet
Social media.
happened, and then then like all the mental issues and stuff like surfacing. But I think it was happening before. It did. It's just that not much study was put into it,
Hmm.
because it was not as big as what we have right now, because we have social media. We have little windows to each person's life.
Hmm.
They share their struggle, everyone share their struggle, and then now it becomes more like the awareness has like surface, and then a lot of more people, they become more aware. It's like, oh, that's what I'm going through. I
Yeah.
thought I could just like brush it off my shoulder before, and then now I'm actually going through that.
Yeah, I agree. I actually met up with my parents yesterday. We were talking about this.
How did that go?
Pretty good. The day before, I had like a complete like, I went through my thing. I
Yeah.
have my feelings towards all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got there, I was like, God, I made a big deal out of nothing, pretty
Uh-huh.
much. But I was telling him about that, and God, I forgot my train of thought.
You're like, oh, I'm
I
all lost with
had
my
it, and it
emotion right now.
I had it, and I just had a stroke.
You're like,
Uh,
reloading,
yeah, let me reload.
recalculating.
Um, I'll see if I can piece this back together.
Mhm.
And what was I trying to tell them? Oh, the brush it off thing. So
Mhm.
my dad's kind of like that. He's like, just you got to muscle through,
Right.
and just work through it and do things that make you happy, and very like father
Yeah,
like,
like it teach the boys or the male in the family to become male, like
right.
like toughen a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. He's like, but I was telling my dad, I was like, I envy the way you think,
mm-hmm.
because there's nothing wrong with the way you think.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, my mind doesn't just forget. He's very like, it happened, and
Yeah, no,
you,
like we're good.
yeah,
Life is good.
yeah, we moved on, and
Uh-huh.
what are you holding it on for?
Right.
Life has moved on. You should keep moving along with it, kind of thing. And I told him, it's just everything that I went through as a kid, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of just kept building and building and building. Like trauma, as a kid, you don't see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on in life, all of a sudden it wants to play catch with you.
I
Yeah.
know. And that's amazing that that you're aware of that, you
Yeah.
know. So
Well, it affects everything I do. Some days I'll have great days, and all of a sudden I'll think about one of the surgeries I had.
mhm,
I'm like, what was that about?
right.
Why was that so violent? Like one I had, I've been reading this book, The Body Keeps the Score, The Mind Keeps the Score. I
Mhm.
think it's The Mind Keeps the Score.
Mhm.
And a really great book if you want to read about like mental health.
Mhm.
And he talked about like in there, this doctor who wrote it, he talked about talk therapy
Uh-huh.
and how generally talk therapy doesn't work.
Mm.
Um, it's yet to be proven like 100% beneficial to the patient. It helps, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of people like, well, you gotta, excuse me, you gotta talk to a therapist. You gotta talk. You gotta talk. You gotta talk.
Yes.
And what he talked about, he says sometimes if you keep talking about it, it just regenerates
It
that.
kind of like resurface the trauma.
Right, you're
Yeah.
resurfacing and reliving that
Mhm.
trauma, and sometimes that could be beneficial where you keep living it, and then eventually you become like desensitized to it,
Mhm.
and you can get past it.
Right.
But most people
Don't.
can't do that.
Yeah. So
So
have you tried like writing it in the journaling?
yes,
It has like, I've been watching a lot of Dr. Tara's work.
I don't know who that
Yeah,
is.
she's amazing because she's I think she's a psychiatrist and she's a doctor at the same time, but like then she like she also do the spirit, like she would do like the spiritual side of human being, and then she just like base it into the psychology all the time, like it's
Mm,
based on psychology. And what I love is the neuroplasticity and
yes, I know
all of
about that.
those. It's amazing. So
Yeah.
like yeah, that's why I mentioned like the like writing it, because I was like writing a book. I'm still like in the first chapter, but oh my god, you can't believe like how much traumas you would actually find about yourself, and then how you become okay. You'll be like, oh, you're writing this because you're trying to remember your past, most especially if it is based your life.
Hmm.
And then you're like, oh wow, that's why I'm like that.
Yeah.
Because like at that time in my like I was in high school, I was okay with it. And that's why I'm keep tolerating toxic people in my life, because I
Hmm.
thought at that time I'm okay with that. As long as I have a little bit of love and stuff, then
Sure.
I'm okay with it. So
Yeah.
this is the really a really good what's this side effects, or like the outcome of journaling.
Hmm.
What's your thought of that?
I've tried the journal thing. My
Mm-hmm.
dad he's an avid journaler. I
Mm-hmm.
guess is maybe the right term.
Yeah.
um, excuse me. And he's wrote in his journal since we were kids. Um, so I tried it in my early 20s. I actually still have a couple of the journals,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't do anything for me.
So it's not for
No,
you.
no. So I keep going. I keep trying things. Talk therapy, 100% has not worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been battling. Do I go back? Do I do that over? I don't. Every time I get things like in motion with it,
Mm-hmm.
I just man,
And you're like, not
I
this.
don't know.
I mean,
And
each person based on like it's crazy because we're doing this mental health. It's more like how it affects normal human being like you and me. Because
mm,
I don't have PhD and all of that with doctorate for like psychology and like all of that. But then I lag so many hours like trying to do self help.
sure, I think
So
a lot of people do. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you do become a little doctor. You know,
On your own.
yeah.
But what I found out is that what works for you might not work for me,
Hmm.
you know? And it's like you have to be very in tune with like with yourself, because like you like the talk therapy doesn't work for you, but it did for me. Like that's actually one of the reason why I left Utah and moved to Miami
Mm.
because of my therapist. My therapist like convinced me to like, hey,
Wow,
move out.
that's a powerful therapist to make you move from state to state.
Right.
And you couldn't do via like a video talk with them. It
No,
had to be in
it's not
person.
that. It was like to save, in order for me to save myself, I need to boot out myself out of Utah for a while until I'm healed. And then when I'm healed,
Gotcha.
like, and then now I can decide if I want to go back to Utah or not. Because
Gotcha.
at that time I was like just devastated. I'm destroyed. Like, I was hitting the rock bottom where I'm just losing it.
Yeah.
So, with you said the talk therapy don't work. The journaling is not working. I've been noticing in your story lately that you've been doing a lot of cold plunges.
I was gonna get to that.
How's that?
You know what? I would not say it is a cure-all,
Mm-hmm.
but I do truly testify that. So I got into that, I think 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I started very basic with it, trying to learn it, understand it. I stumbled upon Wim Hof on YouTube.
Okay.
And if you ever get a chance to listen to his story, it's
I
like,
might.
how do you not go give this a shot?
Right.
Like his wife committed suicide.
Oh
She
no.
jumped out.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what story building, and he had 3 kids that he had to raise on his own. And he said he was just walking through the park one day and he saw some cold water, and he's like, I don't know what it was, but
Right. It was
maybe,
inviting for him.
yeah. He's like, maybe I just need silence or something. So he got in it,
Mm-hmm.
and this, he goes on. He does breathing techniques and all kinds of neat things, but
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal human being what he's created and started.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I'll get it. I bought this little Jimmy rig, like $90, like plastic
Like, yeah.
circle thing, and I filled it up with
like
water.
a big drum, we call it in the
Yeah,
Philippines.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
and I started there. I started, I don't know, like 60 degrees. I was like,
Uh-huh.
ooh, I did 60 degrees, and then I just kept doing it, and I tried different ways of doing it.
How many times do you do it in a week?
I do it almost every day
Oh
now
my god!
for like the last
You're
year.
brave.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
yeah.
it's a routine now.
Mm.
It's really weird. If I don't do it, I feel really like, oh man, like I didn't start my day right, kind of
But then,
thing.
like, does it make you more, like, the feeling of addiction to that? Like, like making it a routine. I know it's good for you, but like, would it make you more dependent?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because there are some people who I've stumbled across. Are like, I'm like in negative degree water, and I'm
Mm.
not getting any effects anymore.
So it kind of tap out.
I think I'm almost to that point where I feel like I'm kind of tapping out. So
And is it scary for you? Because like gonna get like
yeah,
when you get to that point, it's like, okay, well, the cold plunges is no longer helping with my depression. What else can I try out there that, like, because it's like when you reach certain points in your life and you're like, okay, what now?
right.
Right? So like, is it more advisable to do it every day or like just regulate it?
Yeah, I think I have to kind of pull back and
Mm-hmm.
not do it every day.
Yeah.
I think I'm starting to notice it where I've got into like freezing water, 32 degrees,
Uh-huh.
and I just sit there. I was like, wow, I could sit here for a long time, and that's kind of crazy for me.
Yeah.
But it's when I get out, I don't get that rush I used to get.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably because you're pretty much doing it every
I,
day.
I'm
And so
tolerated to it.
yeah, you're like, oh, it becomes my routine. And then
Yeah.
one thing about when it's like a treat
Mm-hmm.
to your body, because when you just do it when you're sad, then it can probably help you. But when even if you're happy, you still do it. I mean, like, your body better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw this. I always walk at Mill Creek Canyon because that's the canyon here in Utah that allows dogs. And most of the time, my dog would just jump in the icy water.
Mm-hmm.
And I get so tempted to jump with him.
Yeah, you
Like,
should.
and I'm like, what if I freeze to death? There's like like snow everywhere,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I better do it with when I have so much like robes and like hot clothes, like
Yeah.
and then I would crank up like the heat in my car, and then just
Mm-hmm.
leave it on, and then go jump in the water, and then if I can, I'm sorry,
Oh no, you're good.
if I can no longer tolerate it, then I would just jump out and then get put on the layer of clothing, and then like just get back in the car and get warm.
Yeah.
But then everyone is saying that I just start with cold shower.
Yeah, they're so cold showers are really cool, but it's not the same.
It's the same.
I think for me, and I advise people to go out and do cold plunges. It really
Mm.
has helped tremendously with my depression, anxiety,
Mm.
everything. Like where I used to take quite a bit of medication. I don't take anything now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing this for a year and like I don't need it.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
so you got out of the pill.
Yeah. I don't sometimes I have to take like my ADHD meds
Uh
just
huh.
because when I'm having a day where my brain is like way over there, it's not to
Right.
keep
Right.
it right here.
Yeah.
But that's the worst that it gets.
That's really good because I almost got into the pills.
Yeah.
That was like a few months ago. Like it was really hard. I think it was the beginning of winter.
Hmm.
And then I had this moment where like my hormones is so imbalanced to where I would wake up and I would say, why am I up? You know?
Hmm.
And then I would always want to kill myself. Like it just borderline very suicidal. And then I have a best friend, like he's like really good to me. He's also a psychiatrist in Miami. He sent me medication in the nearest pharmacy, and then I just thought of it. I got so scared with the pill, and I had to sit with myself, and I said, "Is life really, really that sad for me to start taking those pills?"
Yeah.
And I thought of it, and then, like I go really deep into like in my thoughts, and I was like, and then I created this thing, and I think I can't remember if I saw it in TikTok or Instagram, but it's about life, and it says that like it makes me realize this. I said life is an experience for all of us, and it has its good and bad, you know. So at that time when I was about to take those pills, and I thought like, is life really that hard for me to start taking those? And then I thought to myself, I'm like, no, because I have to embrace life, even it's painful.
Hmm.
I have to like to just enjoy life, even it's suffering, even through like the darkest part of it, because you know what, we all have our expiry date. you know we are sent in this world not just to feel happiness.
Yeah.
That's why I discovered we are so bombarded with social media that, oh, look at me with my happy life. Not a lot of us share about the sadness of life. The like how life can be so painful sometimes, and most of the time we learn from the bad. We never learn from the good. you
Hmm.
know and at that time I was like, no, I'm not gonna kill myself. I'm gonna continue feeling, because I am lucky enough to be able to feel the happiness and the sadness and something in between. Like the full spectrum of life as it is, I'm able to experience all of it.
Hmm.
And for that, I'm very lucky to be alive.
Yeah, that's a great outlook on it. I think
Mm.
a lot of people get trapped in just like well, if I'm sad, I have to be sad.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like, okay, what do you want in life? When you're asked that question, what do you want in life? And most people would say, I just want to be happy.
Yeah. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, baby.
Right.
Yeah. Drugs
I-
and fast women. What are you talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, but
Just kidding.
that's not really like a permanent fix, is it?
Mm.
Because I just saw this podcast with it's like the School of Greatness. I'm avid fan of him, and then there is this woman from Utah actually, and she's part of the dance, like in Hollywood right now, and she just lost her husband like a few years ago, and
Mm.
then like what she said is kind of like the same as that, like the life as it is, we need to accept it, and we need to just enjoy it even if it's the bad,
Yeah.
you know.
I totally agree. I think the more and more as I keep toying around with trying to figure out what works best for me,
Mm-hmm.
you do appreciate like there are some seasons even with doing cold plunges and like being
Mm-hmm.
out there, it's still some days are just tough. And I don't know
Mm.
why. Some days I'm just like, dude, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't
Right.
want to talk to nobody. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna sit in my room and be angry at nothing.
Luckily, you have to get three puppies right
Yeah.
here that entertains you.
Yeah. And it's for somebody who doesn't suffer with mental health and they see
Mm-hmm.
somebody like go through it,
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to explain. I can't explain it. It's just like you just have to kind of sit with them and like let them work through it,
Yeah.
and then they'll pop out of it.
Yeah.
The majority of the time, they pop out of it when they're ready. But I agree. You do have to feel a little bit of sad, a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of glad, just kind of like with the weather.
Mm-hmm.
If it's winter all the time, it's like, dude, this
Yeah,
sucks.
it
You
would
know?
sad.
But if it's
Right.
hot all the time, it's like,
Yeah,
dude,
it would
this
also suck.
sucks. You know?
Like you ask the people in Arizona how they hate summer, and you ask the people here how they love summer, right?
Yeah, I love summer here.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like a break. I was actually like it was the beginning of this winter, and it's been snowing a lot, and I found enjoyment in driving. Unfortunately, I drive a car that would not drive in snow.
I'm speaking to the church on that one. My little car slides all over the place.
Right. So, and I was like sitting in the Smith's parking lot, and I see people in Utah. And they're happy, they're enjoying the snow. Like they're
Yeah.
all just like they're grabbing Christmas stuff, and then smiling. And it dawned to me, I'm like, yeah, it's actually really nice here.
Hmm.
You know, now at this point, I'm falling in love in Utah. Before it was
Yeah.
like, oh, Utah has so much traumatic moment for
Oh,
me.
trust me. When I first moved here, I felt the same way. I was
Yeah.
like, but somebody just burned this place already.
Right.
Get one of those bombs over here.
But now
Yeah.
you're like, oh, if I could just bundle up and I can stay warm and I can go to the forest with
Mhm.
my dog, I could stay there the whole day. You know,
Yeah.
and
Hiking when there's snow out is
Mm.
something special.
it goes very quiet, and
Hmm.
it's like I never experienced such quietness in my life. You just hear the snow or the wind, and it's like it's airy.
Yeah.
It has that very different feeling.
Yeah, I know for me when I go up there and it's still cold and there's a little bit of snow and you
Mhm.
just everything's kind of that still feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like your animal instincts kick in. You can
Mhm.
hear everything.
Right.
It's like, what was that? Dude? I heard a
Yeah.
little crack, a little stick break. What was that?
Yeah,
You
and then
hear
you're
the
like,
snow fall off the
yeah,
trees.
like it's like
Yeah.
your sixth sense,
Mm-hmm.
kind of way. Like I was hiking the other day with Kane. It was starting to get dark, and I just felt scared. I felt scared for some reason, and we went there so many times. And I'm like, let's go back. Like, let's not continue this hike. And then the next hour. I just saw it in KSL that there is so many mountain lions right now.
I've been reading
Like
that too.
yeah, in this
Yeah,
mountain, and I was like, oh, maybe that was lurking.
it could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, human beings. If I
Mhm.
I'm gonna be sad the day people lose that instinct. You know,
And
because it's coming.
I don't think they would. I hope not because
Yeah,
it's like it's the gut instinct, right?
yeah.
It's like based on Tara Swart research. It's about like the microbiome in your gut that
Hmm.
kind of like tells
Talks to.
something. Yeah, talks to your brain
Yeah,
and how
it's
like
not talking very well. I'll tell you that
right.
much.
You're like,
What? What?
I keep making bad decision. I might I might as well just drink something
Yeah.
to kill all of that
Where
thing.
were you, Cut? Where were you on that one?
Yeah. So going back to dealing with depression.
Yes.
So cold plunges works for you. Do you have anything else that works for you?
Um, anything that's really, I know it sounds so cliche. This is
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of people say in the cold plunge world,
Mm-hmm.
but anything that's just really, really difficult. And it
Okay.
doesn't necessarily need to be cold plunges. That may not be your thing.
Yeah.
And you have to experiment with it. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
like I did. Sometimes I do them early in the morning
Mm-hmm.
before I start working out. And usually that works out pretty well. Or sometimes I do it after work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Last year I kept the thing outside and endured the elements at the same time.
Okay.
I think that's what I need to do now is put it back outside
Yeah.
because it's been in the garage and it's just like
I was just sitting
I
there.
don't connect. It's there's something missing.
Right.
You know?
It's probably better if you put it outside too, because it's like you can see a little bit of the nature.
Yeah.
It's really proven that, like, I was actually watching this podcast again before I came here, and they talk about like just even 15 to 20 minutes in nature
Yeah.
do help a lot with
It
stress.
does.
Yeah.
And I know that's what's been missing too because I've been working so much.
Mm-hmm.
So to go back, what else has worked? And the only thing I suggest is like anything that's really, really uncomfortable and that's hard. Like even doing like podcasts for me can be
Mm-hmm.
like super hard. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
dude, just sit there and
You're multitasking.
listen. Yeah, you're multitasking. So
Yeah.
that could be hard for some people.
Yeah.
Engaging in like conversation. Say you're not a very talkative person,
Right.
start a little podcast.
Uh-huh.
Maybe just talk to yourself
Uh-huh.
and see how that goes. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, it's good. It's such a good relief sometimes to be able to speak your mind.
Yeah.
It's almost like journaling, but you're doing it into the video,
Yeah.
and like you're recording yourself. And it would be so good to like get back to that. I was actually watching our podcast the other day, and that's why I was like, let's do another one.
Yeah. Yours, I think, got the most hits too. I was like, wow,
I
you
hope
are a
so.
popular person.
No, but like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, it kind of like do these certain things where you had evolved in a certain amount of time as a human being. You can like touch base. It's like who I was 2 years ago when we first met,
Hmm.
and then who are we now?
Yeah.
After two
Completely
years.
different.
Yeah,
Completely different person.
yeah,
I'm still like very like ambitious about a lot of things.
yeah.
Mostly even my coworkers are like, dude, you gonna shut up about the cold plunge? That's all you talk about. I'm
No,
like, I'm
because it's
telling you, bro,
something.
it works.
Yeah, because it's something that works for
It
you.
worked.
Yeah. So it's like, you can't help but like try to like, to spread it with people because
Yeah.
it works for you. It must work for them. One thing about like, you mentioned that like doing something difficult,
Hmm.
there is like scientific study about that when you do certain things that are very difficult, it often remolds your brain and it makes your brain grows like even more.
Yeah.
So it's really good to always get out of the comfort zone because when you get out of the comfort zone, it tends to like your brain gets stuck into that and then you're that, right?
Hmm.
If you're constantly doing something difficult and hard for your brain to grasp, then um then you're evolving, you're continuing to evolve, even like you moving to Utah was big thing for your brain. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
yeah, like just trying to reacclimate with the weather or like the people, the new environment. That was big for your brain. And I'm
Hmm.
sure you had learned a lot from that move.
Sure. Oh, you too. Let's not forget you moved from the Philippines to here
Yeah.
to Arizona, all over the place.
One thing,
Mine's kind of
yeah, yeah, you're.
mine's kind of petty compared to
No,
what
no, no, no.
from
That's why I
you
said
left the whole country. Try that out.
right. No,
I would
it's
be like, oh man, I don't know if I can go back. I quit.
no, it's like it's not like that though, but it's still a move. You can't like you can't just like what I said. Your pain is different from mine.
Yeah, but I know, and it's kind of you to say that.
Mm.
But like, I have a lot of friends, and I don't know why I keep meeting people like that, and I don't I don't know if I draw.
Okay, let's dig into this.
Yeah, I
This
don't
is
know if I
spicy.
draw people, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my friends aren't from the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, a lot of people I work with are from either the Philippines. Like my good friend Prana is from India,
Mm-hmm.
and he moved here, and
Have you been out of the country?
not yet.
I think you should.
It's I'm hoping this year.
Yeah,
You know,
because there is that in the Philippines. I never really get along well with Filipinos.
really,
I don't.
Filipinos can be pretty hard to each other.
To each other, but they're very like their generosity and like hospitality for foreign people
Hmm.
is superb. That's
That's
why
what I hear.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
superb. Like they would treat you like a VIP, but for other Filipinos, we see each other as competition, or like
Mm.
we I'm not gonna participate. I'm like they.
You could say
No, I'm not gonna
it.
participate into that. I'm like
Them.
they. Yeah, they pull each other down.
They do. I've seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy because like they instead of like helping each other to all rise up together, they would pull each other down. But when it comes to other ethnicity and like they're very welcoming.
They are.
Yeah. So
Just don't make them mad.
right.
Don't you fucking make them mad.
Right. The
They,
chinelas would go
oh
flying across the
man,
room.
dude, they hold a grudge. Sorry, I don't mean to say they
Yeah.
Filipino, but Filipinos can hold a grudge.
Oh, we can.
Yeah,
And it's like,
I've seen it. Like,
yeah.
oh man, we're still holding on to that one.
We're so good on like collecting those bullets.
Yeah.
Right. And then when
Yeah.
the conflict happened, I'm like, oh God, yes, I've been preparing this bullet right
Oh,
here.
here it comes.
You said this like 5 years ago.
It
This is
says
what you
here,
did.
and I
Right.
quote. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's very Filipino.
Mm.
But yeah, I think you lost me right there.
Yeah, they're so fun. Working with them and hearing just every time I hear their stories, like there's one Filipino lady I work with at work, and she met her husband. He was stationed there, I believe.
Yeah, in the Philippines.
And I guess he saw her from like afar. She was about to get in a cab, and he ran up and just gave her his
His
number.
number.
And
Yeah.
then I guess they traveled all through Asia together and they
That's
got
amazing.
married and they have a kid and
Yeah.
they're here. She's here.
It's like
But
I wish everyone has the
it's
fairy
such a
tale story.
beautiful story. I'm all,
Yeah.
wow, you should write a book about this,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And she doesn't think anything of it. But I was like, you know how like fascinating that is to somebody from the United States? Because United States, let's be honest,
Yeah.
we're pretty sheltered.
Yeah.
I don't think it's our fault, but that's why I do enjoy social media because now you're starting to see it ain't all about what's going on in the U.S.
Right.
There's a lot going on that people need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Even right next to our border here,
Yeah.
all these Venezuelans. It makes me wonder what is it happening down there
Yeah.
that
Why
they're
would-
willing to just give it all up.
It's the
You
promise
know?
of the U.S. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, here in the U.S., you guys are so, like, a lot of people in the U.S. I'm sorry, like, to mention this, but.
Hey, this is the U.S. Freedom of speech.
Yeah, right. They're so naive about what they have,
Hmm.
what they got. and what's outside of the United States looks like.
Yeah.
And then outside of the United States, we think that the USA is heaven. It's that mecca that
Yeah.
we all need to go to, because if you just cross that border and you made it to the US, you're rich. That kind of instinct. And that's so far from the reality. 8 years after landing in, like, LAX, I still haven't gone home. I can't afford it.
Yeah. It's tough here.
Yeah, it's so hard.
And I think people are starting to realize that too. Like United
Mhm.
States comes with the price. If you want to come here, it's hard work.
It does.
Even being here from here, it is hard,
It is.
you know?
And it's also like, that's what America is, land of like, opportunity.
It truly is.
Yeah.
It
If you have a good mind, you have a
Mhm.
good idea, you build your own business, that's when you grow. But then the government is designed to make everyone, most people, become the honeybee. Like,
Mhm.
the one that brings the honey to the
Yeah, the
government.
pollinators.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it's like, it's sad, but like, if you can just get out of that, you can create your own niche, whatever.
Mhm.
Then also, like, America is like the best place for that.
Yeah.
Because like the law is written for, like, the people that wanted to be, like, to build their own business, and there's so much, like, tax write off that you can do if you have your own business. But then if you're only, like, if you're working, which is like the corporate world, and then like even just like regular workers, then the government would tax you,
Yeah.
instead of you, like, putting everything as a write-off of taxes. If you're working just regular work, then the government has the right to remove taxes from your wages.
Yeah, I wish we could do better with taxes here.
I mean, yeah. I think, like, we
It's
need
a
a
little
revolution.
rough. I look at my paycheck and I go, "Dang,
Yeah.
dude, I could use that money right now."
Right.
Especially here's how I would solve school loans is a big issue here
Mm-hmm.
in the US.
Yes.
So I've always talked about this at work. I was like, dude, I think I could solve it.
Yeah.
And this is my ignorant thought process is so say those people who've gone to school
Mm-hmm.
are paying taxes right now.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of them paying into this constant thing that seems to be unbeneficial to most of us,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you just take those taxes and apply it right to our school loan?
Right.
And until you keep applying it until it's done, and then once it's done, you put us back into the big pot.
Yeah.
I think that would be a wonderful solution because people would meet their payments. People,
Yeah. Everyone would be motivated
yeah,
to, like,
work
to,
more.
yeah, work more.
I'd be like, dude, I'm all in.
Right.
You can even plan it out. All right, in the next 6 months, if I work one more day,
Mm-hmm.
I'll have X amount paid off, and then I could just pay the rest off, and then I'm done.
Right. Right. Right.
You know, but yeah,
Yeah.
we make it so hard. It shouldn't be that hard. If we're able to give countless dollars, who knows at this point, to
To other
other
countries.
countries without blinking an eye,
Yeah.
but you can't
There
delete
is.
some school debt
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
people who are trying to make it better for themselves here.
Exactly.
Seems so counterintuitive.
How are you, like, how are you able to afford billions and billions and billions of dollars to get sent out of, like, the United States, but you can't pardon, like, the people that work for those money that you just sent?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there is a deeper thing that is going on there, and I don't want to, like,
You're not gonna
it's
hurt
like,
anybody's feelings. Trust me. This is on a lot of people's minds right now.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
what are
like,
we doing?
we are aware,
Yeah,
like, what we are aware what they're doing,
yeah,
you know. It's just that, like, it saddened me because most of the time we neglect our own.
yeah.
We neglect our own. So America is like this very big narcissistic person. Like, if it is a person, it's like a very big show off narcissistic person that in their family they neglect everyone in their family, but they show off to other people as, oh, I'm good, like, I would help you,
Hmm.
I would do this for you, I would do that for you, I would fight your battle. But then their children, they neglect their children doesn't have anything, it's hard, like, their children is starving or like
Hmm.
struggling. But that's America, like, that's like a very narcissistic parents.
Yeah, I've always looked at America as like the big bully on the playground. Like we like to start, and I'm not talking bad about anybody, but sometimes I feel like what are we doing over there? Like why are we
Yeah. Like,
like
why are we involving
yeah,
ourselves into this?
and like I cringed and I put my head down when like Joe Biden's like we stand by Israel. I was like, oh brother, I don't know if everybody really feels that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, why would you speak for all of us?
Right.
I don't know why he would say something like
I
that.
mean, he is a disaster.
He unfortunately he just made a lot of bad moves.
I mean, like, yeah, but that's
Yeah.
like, that's the government. Like, that's their thing. And I'm like, you know what? It's going back to the what's this, mental health.
Hmm.
When we watch so much news, it often actually make you depressed more.
Yeah, I've gone down that road a lot.
Yeah. So what I recently been doing is just I've been avoiding it, because sometimes, yes, we can say we can speak, like, it's a freedom of speech here in the US, but then it's something that we cannot really change. Like, we can change it if
Right.
all of us agree into it, but then we can just let that part of like, of our society keep squeezing us, because if they keep squeezing and squeezing and squeezing their people, then eventually, like, the people itself would do something about it.
Yeah, and, I've come to that too. I've recently just had to like sit down and be like, there's absolutely nothing you can do about the
Mm.
Middle East issues right now.
Yeah, I mean, that issue had been there
Yeah, well,
forever.
from day one, it feels like
Yeah, like
whenever day one
it's
was.
in even in the Bible.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
like, I'm like, yeah, there's, here's the thing is that there is innocence in both sides. Don't get
one
me wrong.
hundred percent.
There are
Yeah,
innocent in both sides, and there are evil in both sides.
yeah,
So, unfortunately, we live in this world where we can't really have that promised paradise as of this
yeah.
moment, and it's getting scary. Like,
It really
I
is.
mean, what's the worst can happen is that if we have like the World War III and we all killed each other,
Hmm.
I think the Mother Nature would still try to, heal itself, and it would continue to go on, but just without us. And very
Yeah, there's
few of
plenty of movies
us.
that are like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So
And
it's
what's
like, if you guys really want to poke that matter, I'm like, I know the earth would be fine.
yeah, Earth's gonna
So
be just fine.
that
It's
you and me will not gonna
yeah,
be. So
Earth has gone on before us, and it will go on after us. I feel,
Mhm.
and it should. It's that is a well-oiled machine,
It is.
and
It-
it's always found a way to take care of itself.
yeah.
And we are a guest.
Right.
You know,
We're pretty much the
we're the worst guests that never checked out.
Yes.
Are you guys gonna leave?
We're like, no, we're gonna destroy
No, man.
everything that
We
you
gotta
have.
mess it all up first, and then I'll go.
Maybe. Maybe, like, or we'll like station ourselves into the moon and then the
Uh-huh.
Mars, so that, like, the Mother Earth can ever get rid of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I do worry about whatever it is occurring right now.
mhm.
Just a lot of innocent people just getting murdered,
Mhm. It does.
and it's always the innocent that feel it the most. And I think, and I was trying to point this down the other day, is like, why does America voice their opinion about everything? And I think it's realized for me is that it's because everybody here is from everywhere,
And it's not just
and it
that.
affects them.
Mhm.
And I'm sure we have a friend somewhere down the road where like hey, they're from Israel, or hey,
Right.
they're
Yeah. Why
Palestinians,
can't we
or
just love each other,
right,
right?
yeah,
Um, the thing is, it's like it's also America is the biggest military in the world.
yeah,
Even NATO, like me and my brother would talk about this the other day. NATO, some of those countries doesn't have their own military.
hmm,
They're part of NATO, and NATO, the biggest military of NATO is us,
yeah,
America. So that's why we're there. Like
yeah,
that's why we're always involved in each
yeah.
conflict in the world.
And I get it. I get it'd be weird to sit here and not do anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think we always need to be the first to be like, "Hey, man,
The Rippery,
yeah,
or like
hey,
the one that broke.
yeah."
It's like, hey,
You think we should just keep doing proxy wars, man? We're
right?
not really there,
It's like we
you
need to
know.
get rid of all our old
Yeah,
bullets.
and if you talk to some people, that is the legit reason
Mm-hmm.
why we're doing it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's to try out new industrial weapons.
Exactly.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see that. I can see, Ukraine is like has the oldest trash to shoot with, and guess what? They got like really cool shit now from
Right.
who?
Yeah.
And they're trying out things that we can't really try out right
Right.
now.
Yeah.
So we're not at
So,
war.
right, we're like, oh, we're learning.
A lot of this is data collection. Hey,
Yeah.
there's a faulty here. We'll fix it. And it's unfortunate that and some people will admit that, but it is unfortunate that's what it takes, and that's what we do.
No, yeah, it is what it is.
Human beings, we just I don't know why.
We like
I
to
don't know why.
we're made of destruction. We like to destroy something so that we can rebuild.
Yeah, we really do like to fight each other.
I, I
You know,
think, yeah.
we really just like to pick on each other.
Right,
My
right.
parents and I, we pick on each other. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, imagine if this was somebody else and they just got
Yeah.
really upset and they just shot you.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But then, like, we're always given this opportunity to be the best version of ourselves every day.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So what's your intake in that? Like, I know you had been very generous to most of your friends, and then I know, like, in our last podcast, you had told me about those scenarios where people actually would be there when they need something from you and then be gone, and, like, not even offer you friendship. How are you as a human being, like, handle that and able to continue being kind to people?
Oh, that is a great question. I really like you asking me questions. This is cool. It's usually me like,
Right, you're asking me a question.
yeah, no
Yeah.
one really ever asked me much. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. You know what? It hurts.
Yeah.
It will always hurt. I'm just built that way, and I can't get rid of it
Mm-hmm.
just because of everything I went through,
Yes.
all the surgeries and the kind generosity people have shown me.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird. I had such a weird childhood. I wouldn't say violent, but it was pain. I mean,
Can you give me an idea of what's childhood like for you?
so I think I've told you about it. I was born with a cleft
Yes.
lip palate.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, some kids, it's usually one surgery and done.
Mm-hmm.
And then some, it's a continuous journey, which a lot of people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So and you can get a cleft anywhere. You can get a cleft in your head, in your hand, in your foot, your brain.
Right.
Generally, it's in the face right
Yeah.
here. And it can affect lot of other things. So, well, my first surgery, from what I was told, my mom, it was like 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just a surgery all the time from that point on till I was like 24, 5.
Uh-huh.
So the first like quarter of my life,
Uh-huh.
in and out of hospitals, anesthesia,
Yeah.
shots,
Yeah.
pain.
How did that affect your brain?
I think it affected it very negatively.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked about this yesterday. It's like, I know I said it earlier, as a kid, you don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't understand what's going on. You're just kind of like, this is what has to be done.
Right.
And you don't think it affects you,
Mm-hmm.
but the body does not forget,
Right.
the mind doesn't forget. And it just was painful.
So it was mainly, no, it's not mainly. It was a combination of physical trauma and mental trauma.
Yeah, the
Mm,
mental part
mm,
came was
mm,
like, okay, I have two brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother, and they're
mm,
fine.
mm.
Nothing happened to them.
Right.
So that starts to toy with you.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
it's like, why did God put this on me and not
yeah,
them
it's
or
like
something like that? Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then if you really dive
Mm,
into religion or like previous life, was I such an asshole that I deserve this?
maybe.
Maybe. And you start toying with yourself with that
Right,
idea,
right. Yeah.
because there are some people who believe
Mm,
that what you pay the price for whatever you were previous.
right.
I was like, dude, what did I do that was so messed up that I had to take on this burden?
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous road too.
Right.
I recommend nobody think like that or believe that sort of thing, because that,
Or maybe like they can think of it like, okay, if I was bad in my past life, then I have the chance to do better this
or
in this lifetime.
you can look at it like that too.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like I in me and my personally, like I see is like there's a lot of people are vindictive, right? And there is a person like me. I'd always see what did I learn from that and how can I revert that pain into love, you know? Because in our day and age, it's like, okay, you hurt me, I'll hurt you back, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have much people that would like, oh, you hurt me. Let me understand why you do certain things to hurt me and how can I help you become a better person, you know? There's
That would
an
be the more adult way to handle it.
yeah, yeah, like I'm not gonna punch back. So
No way, I'm gonna get them back.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So what do you learn from pain?
I learned that it, like anything, it can be very addictive.
Mm.
I don't think a lot of people know, but like I have generally felt if I wasn't in some sort of pain in my life, that something was wrong.
Is this why you keep stumbling across those people that would just use you and hurt you?
Probably. And then the more and more I look at it, it's like, well, why do I find cold plunge to be kind of soothing? Because
Because
that
it's
shit
pain.
hurts.
Yeah.
Because that, like, getting in there is like, oh man, you know. But that there's more beneficial health to that.
Like yeah, like at least that pain helps you become like happy and
Yeah,
stuff. But like that's like does it scares you that like that kind of like part of your tendency?
it does. It's a very bad, um, and I've gotten better at it.
Mm-hmm.
This year I told myself I'm not helping anybody, at least financially, like I was,
Mm-hmm.
previous years.
Because you can't sink your boat and help them like
Yeah,
stay afloat.
yeah, because it's just like, well, why do you need money? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, how old are you?
Right.
Okay, I understand. Maybe if you're a teenager and you needed some help,
Mm-hmm.
but you're almost 40 and you're asking me for money.
Right.
Like, okay, dude.
It's like we're in this battle together.
Yeah.
Like, I have my bills to pay too.
But then I feel like if I don't help, I feel guilty. So there's
Yeah.
another layer to it, is
Yes.
because I've been so fortunate, people have always helped me, but
Yes.
it's never been money. I don't know why I feel.
Tell me about more of that guilt. Like, why feel guilty?
I feel, and I was telling my dad this, man, we're peeling the onion today.
Right.
I was telling my dad this the other day. All those people, if I am not overly successful, if I don't have everything put into place in life, if I'm not a good person,
Mm.
then I have done everybody who's helped me a disservice.
Okay.
I've wasted their time.
So it's like gratitude for those people that help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, there's like a trauma right there that you always wanted to, show up for people, or like now I get it. Like
Yeah.
I get your reasoning. It's like I'm just paying back. but not to those people that help me, but to those
Right.
people that are in
To
need.
people who come into my life. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, they need like, and now I just like, I've told myself, just if you need somebody to talk to, I could
You're
try
there.
to
Yeah.
stir you in the right direction. But as far as like financially, I
You,
can't do that anymore.
you can be enabler.
Yeah. And I was for a long time.
Yes, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's really good, and I always push to help because I still at this day I still help my parents, I still help my siblings, but I always teach my mom how to reenact the way they raised me because they change. You know, I am the first child, firstborn, so they were very harsh and hard with me. But then later on in life, they become more softer and more like, like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. And I've been trying to like, to push it in their, how to say, method to don't do it to my, like, don't just tolerate my brothers and my sister. Like,
Hmm.
don't, because I believe that if we enable them to feel to like that they always have security,
Hmm.
they would always run to us when it's difficult, you know and then when it's difficult they no longer know how to fend for themselves, except they know how to run to you now.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's the same thing with one of my brother. I call him like he's the black sheep, but he never really appreciated me. When I was 17 years old after high school, I was like, my parents pretty much just put, like, I think I mentioned this in my first podcast with you. But then, as of today, he thinks like, oh, Ate Diana was never really there for me,
Mm.
And it's like, I told this to my mom like a few weeks ago.
Son of
Like, I
a
was like, no.
bitch.
And I was like, did he ever think that I have a chosen family here in America where I can run to, and they're like my safety net. Don't get me wrong, I have those people, but I never really ran back to my mom and my dad and to them to ask them monetarily help when I'm struggling.
Yeah.
You know, I never did that to them, and for them to be just so entitled because like they feel like I did not help them. And I told my mom, who supported his food for the past 2 years? It was me.
Mm.
He did not see that. Who actually, like, every time his child don't have milk, who sent money to buy his child milk? It was me.
Mm.
He fucked up so many jobs. Like, he like pretty much stole. It's not stole, but like he took like some of the money that is like owned by the business that he works for because he thinks he can pay it back, and he can't pay it back. And
Mm.
it was not just a small amount of money; it was a big chunk of money. Who paid for it? It was me. And like all of those is like even until like today, I'm still there for him. And I told my mom, did he even appreciate that? Or he only saw what am I not willing to do for him anymore? Because he would always say these things. Okay, I'm just gonna go home in a coffin.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you always going to like blackmail us with you killing yourself?
Yeah.
Like, don't be talking to me like that because I'm gonna be asking you, where do you want me to bury you?
Mm.
So it's like that's the thing. When we are so helpful, we sometimes become enabler.
Yeah. We become more toxic than that person that needs the help.
Yeah,
You
when we
know.
can say no, you need to figure it out yourself, then they would not appreciate it at that moment, but they would appreciate it in the long run because they
Yeah.
would say, "Oh, thank you for not letting me gain access to what I needed so easily because it taught me how to find it myself, you
Hmm.
know. So,
I totally agree. I've learned that the hard way. And I just know. And those people, even when I've helped, I've always told them, hey, man, if you ever just need to talk to somebody, my phone number is still available to you.
Yeah.
And you would be surprised how much you don't hear from them anymore.
Yeah.
And that I think hurts the most because I've never ever done anything where I was like, well, if I'm going to do this for you, you better do this for me,
Yeah.
you know?
Because you were doing it full heartedly, you
Yeah,
know?
because I know what it's like to like struggle and feel like nobody is there for you. I mean, trust me, I know that probably more than a lot of people. And I don't like to see people like hurt like that and like
Mm.
confused where their next meal might come from.
Right.
And sometimes, unfortunately, they have to go through that.
I mean, we are in
Like you said,
America.
yeah,
We are in America. There's a lot of
I
like,
know.
access
I say
to.
that too.
Yeah. It's
You
like,
know,
oh, okay, okay. So if you don't have something to eat, there is certain like, places. Maybe like I can redirect you to those places where you can gain access to certain like, things the government do for people.
hmm
We're lucky to have those.
yeah,
Like, okay. When I was in Miami, I was the community health worker there. I helped on HIV prevention and suppression, but I also had access to housing.
mm,
So at night, as outreach that I do for my own self, it's like outside of the company that I work for. Is that I would go to like hang out with the homeless people in the park. There's this park right there called Margaret Park
you're a brave soul.
yeah,
I
by
don't go hang out with
Bayside.
homeless people.
Yeah. So that's what I did there, and we go like would go fishing and stuff. Like they were fun.
Yeah,
They're
they could be a real like hoot.
they can be
Yeah,
yes, but like it's funny about like because I tackled this with my brother the other day, and I told him there is something about being so innocent that even the baddest person out there didn't want to harm that because
yeah,
it's so innocent. And I think that was like my safety net because like I was never scared of them.
yeah.
I always gain respect from them. And like yeah, we would just sit right there, and I would always try to offer them like, if you want to get back to the society, I can help you.
hmm
But then they have their own way, they
Yes,
have their
they
own
do.
way. Then they're like, no, I'm good here, Diana. Like my life is good. And I was like, okay, if this is good for you, okay, I understand that.
Yeah,
But like I'm just saying that if you need my help, I'm here.
yeah. I have a brother who's homeless.
Yeah,
He's a
you
drug
mentioned
addict,
this.
and
Yeah.
he's back in jail right now. Um,
So it's probably sober right now.
yeah, he maybe I don't know.
Mm.
You know, um, drug people tend to find drugs regardless,
Everywhere.
regardless of where they are.
Yeah. It's like
And
yeah.
I know a lot of people have a heart for homeless people, and they are people. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But the majority of homeless people do not want you or do not want anybody interrupting how they live their life.
Yes.
Generally, most of them like living like that.
Yes.
As weird as that looks and as tough as that looks to you,
They liked it. They
they
thrive in the environment.
they thrive there.
Yes.
That's where they feel most comfortable. And my brother is like that too. He was in rehab, and apparently there was one portion where they talked about getting back into
The society.
society, getting a job,
Uh-huh.
putting your effort back into the world.
Right.
And I guess he had to get up and walk out because he does not want to do that.
Yeah.
And the majority of them don't want to do that.
How close of age gap are you with this brother?
We're 11 months apart. We
Wow.
are hand in hand, did
So, like,
everything together.
Together.
Yeah.
And then like isn't it amazing that you become very successful of what you do, right?
hmm
And then do you ever think of what kind of trauma he went through that pushed him to like seek refuge in a way like of taking drugs?
Yeah, and I've asked him that. I'm like, dude, you can talk to me. Did something happen that none of us know about that has driven you? Because usually that's the case. Like,
Right.
most of these homeless folks, the trauma as their kid, their dad beat them, molested, like
Yes.
go down any negative road, and that's usually what happened.
Right.
And he said no. He's
Okay.
like, nothing happened. I just like living like that. I like doing what I want to do when I want to do it.
Yeah.
I like getting high.
Hmm.
I just like doing my thing.
Okay.
And I
And
said, okay, man.
I'll be like so
Uh,
fully supportive to that. And I'm like, if you're happy, I'm like, go for it.
I mean, if you like living like that, man,
Yeah.
what am I going to do?
Yes.
You know, if
Yes.
anybody should have been down that road, I always told him, like, dude, I have every excuse to be like that.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
could be you and you can be
But
me
yeah.
going, oh, I get it.
But then there's that part of you that would not let yourself there.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
built like that.
Yes.
I'm built like my dad. I need to know like A, B, C.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know when my money's coming, where it's coming from. I go to work at this time. Like
So you like the routine.
I'm a routine. I'm a
Mm.
routine dude. If I would have joined the military, I'd probably be the best soldier because it's like, hey, A, B, C.
It's there.
Yeah, you know.
Like I have someone manage my life how
Yeah,
I live it. And
and
yeah.
luckily, people have always told me like, dude, you're lucky you never went. But I was like, I don't know because I
Yeah.
never went, so I would never know.
Yeah.
But I'm like that. I observed my dad like crazy growing up, and I
Yeah.
saw how hardworking he was, how a man takes care of his family, like that old school where a lot of people don't like to hear it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate that because it's like, dude, this dude was there. He
Yeah.
was a good dad. We
Yeah.
never went starving. I mean, we didn't have all the food in the world, but
Right.
it was there. We had shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And why would you shit on that?
Mm-hmm.
Why do people think that's a bad thing? I don't know.
Yeah. So when it comes to your relationship with your parents, I know the last time we spoke, it was different. What changed?
Well, they recently watched some
Mm.
podcasts of my brother and I,
Uh-huh.
kind of taking a dump on them.
Yeah.
And my mom called me out on that one. She's like, you can't say that about us. And I was like, all right, and you know,
Yeah, yeah. You're
and,
supposed to like protect the family in that, but like,
and I get it. I took those down
Okay, good.
respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
And she was right. Like, who are you to say that out
Mm-hmm.
loud
Right.
about us
Mm-hmm.
when we're not in the room?
Mm-hmm.
Totally get it. She had every right to
She probably would like, I would have appreciated if you both discussed it with me and your dad
Yeah,
in the first, and then we could have actually do something about it.
right.
They're probably not aware.
They are now,
Mm-hmm.
and they found out the hard way, and I learned the hard way too.
Mm-hmm.
But now that everything is out there, I still struggle because I feel like I have this ability to change the past and
Yeah.
who they are as people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just need to learn to like stop that shit.
I
Like,
mean,
dude, you ain't gonna change anything.
this is what I learned too, is that there is two sides of the coin, and this is why I become very forgiving, because it's like, what made you do that? What was your reasoning? Like, I always, like, try to put myself in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, there are certain things that they probably grow up with, certain, like, culture in our homes that were raised as children, or they're raised as children. And at, like, at the same time, they thought that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what they were trying to, like, make a rule within the family.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more and more they open up about their past, their childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and what they were trying to do with us,
Yeah.
you start to see like, oh, dude, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like I just found out why my dad was so tight with money on groceries. It's because he only got paid once a month.
Yeah.
And I didn't know like he was budgeting that tough.
Right.
I was like, oh, that's why we ate the same cheap thing.
Right. Right.
Every Monday was like tacos. Every Tuesday spaghetti. Like that was every Monday the whole month.
Yeah, this is probably why you
You know?
want everything to be
For sure.
organized.
That's where it all comes
because
from.
you kind of like grow up to that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And
But
like food is very like not a joy for me.
mm,
And I'm not trying to sound like ignorant or
Yeah.
like unappreciative, but food is just like when I need to eat, I eat, and I don't Like it
Right.
doesn't need to be luxurious all the time. There's
Right.
people who are foodies. They're like, dude, you got to try this sauce. And
Like
now I'm
this
like, bro,
restaurant.
I just want to eat what I need to eat.
Yeah.
And I just grew up that way. I can
Hmm.
eat the same thing over and over. And people are just like, how do you do that? I'm like, dude,
I think I
some
could.
military
I
life
could do that.
unintentionally.
Like it probably like just for my health. Like I like to have variety, but definitely I could.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with just rice and dried
Same for
fish
you. Yeah.
and
You grew up on a
vegetables.
little farm in the jungle. Like,
Yeah, like it
same
was
kind of thing.
very, very like, oh yeah, we're talking about just dehydrated fish
Uh huh.
and like just rice like morning, afternoon, and evening
And an
if we're
egg.
lucky.
And you'll get an egg once in a while.
If we have a lot of chicken, if
Hmm.
they have like spare eggs and stuff, we can have it. But like most of the time, we like those eggs to turn into chicken so that there will be more
More
yummy.
chickens. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
man.
where we get our protein from. So,
Man.
yeah,
See, I mean, two different worlds, but very similar, you know,
exactly.
kind of like, hey, this is how we're going to make it.
Hmm.
Hey, this is how we're going to make it. So it's, yeah, everything who I am as a person comes from him.
That's amazing.
It's really weird. As much as I fight it, I'm like, no, I don't want to, every
Yeah.
kid fight. I don't want to be like my parents. But then the more and more I look at him, like, he's actually a pretty cool dude. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
because now they open up into a world you didn't really know.
yeah,
You
they're
know.
starting to open up about themselves.
Hmm.
It's like, wow, I wish you would told us. I'm glad I'm hearing it now.
It would be so amazing if you can actually bring both of them here.
Yeah, one day,
Talk
one day,
about that. Yeah.
one day,
Yeah.
and my mom, we talked, and I understand where all her anger comes
Hmm.
from. Her, her, not getting along with her dad and her mom, and
Yeah.
my uncles can be some challenging dudes,
Yeah.
and you, the more I understand her, the more I understand too where I get my little temper from,
Yeah. Welcome to the mental health.
Yeah. And where she struggles with
Yeah.
like a lot of things, and it's like, well, that trauma is handed down unintentionally, I feel, and you start to see who they are for who they are.
Yes.
And it's, don't get me wrong, some days it's still hard.
It's never going to be easy anyway
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, we're still humans,
Yep.
you know?
Whatever that is.
Yeah, we're still humans and we're complicated. And each and every one of us are built from traumas, from experiences. Like our brain is very malleable, you
Yeah.
know? That's the thing, like with kids. And I mentioned this in our last podcast that like my parents did not fought in front of us. And the negative part of that is that when I'm in a relationship and I'm having a fight with my partner, now I feel like I'm going to like this is the end of it.
Mhm.
Because I never really grew up into a family that fought and showed us that even through that fighting we can still love.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very different kind of like reality. Although they have their arguments, but we didn't see it. So we
Yeah.
didn't see it get resolved.
Same.
Yeah.
I think that kind of hurt us too, because my brother and I, we do not like to argue.
Yeah, like
I
me too.
do not like,
I'm avoidant.
yeah, I don't like getting into any kind of like disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, like sometimes I would have saw it a few times, like, oh, they resolved it, and look, they get past it.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's just like I avoid it at all costs.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta argue.
Right,
Sometimes
right.
you gotta let that steam
Yeah.
out. Like, listen, you
Get it
son of a
out.
bitch. I
Yeah.
don't appreciate that, and here's why. Oh, my bad. Okay. And I think human beings need to, disagreements are good.
Yes.
Not,
To a certain point.
yeah, you don't need to be
Yeah.
like physical with each other.
Yeah. And then like, it's more like disagreement is good because it like, it teaches you that after that like, you can still love,
Mhm.
right? But at the same time, it's also like readjusting, you know. But then if we can find a way to fight with like, like in a calmer way,
Mhm.
it'd be amazing, because that's why I'm like, that's why I'm always like wanting to achieve is that I want to be able to find in my future partner to like be able to just, if you didn't like certain things that I do and if I hurt you, I might not be like, I did not probably mean to hurt you. I want you to communicate that to me in a calmer, like, way.
Yeah.
So because like with me is that like if you approach me with an angry way, I'm not backing out.
Oh yeah. It's like anything. Kindness generates kindness. Anger
Right.
generates
Yeah.
anger. You
So
know.
it's weird. Like, I have it. I'm like, I don't know where that trauma come from. But then I become very resentful. Like, I don't know. I need to dig deeper for that. And if I get triggered in a way, I'm not going to tell you that I'm a saint. Like, no. Hey,
Yeah.
like if you're gonna like come to me like with your hot lava mouth and stuff like that, and you're about to burn me, and I'm like, I'm gonna make sure I burn you back.
Yeah.
But
Hold on.
yeah.
Okay.
But that's probably gonna take us to a different topic, which is like the chemical imbalance in our body.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Chemical. I'm always I kind of understand it, but I don't understand it completely.
mhm.
It's always like I always feel it's thrown around without a real explanation, and it's always the same one: serotonin, and what's the other one? Serotonin and dopamine.
Dopamine, like all the stress
Yeah,
hormones and stuff like that.
that are naturally chemically made in you,
Mm-hmm.
and if you get a little bit of more, it's good. But I was like, well, is that something you should really be tinkering with?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, temper sometimes can be like, can be result by hormonal
Yeah.
imbalance. And that's why I got like, I constantly trying to like level my hormones because my
Mhm.
body doesn't provide like proper hormones
Yeah.
with me. So I have to take like, estrogen, but then I have to take what's this spironolactone, which is anti-testosterone. Because
Mm.
if my testosterone gets so high and like everything get imbalanced, I become like a really good bitch.
Moody. Become
Like
Moody Boots. Here
yeah,
comes Moody Boots.
yeah.
Yeah.
The scary part for me is that when my hormone like get to the point where it's imbalanced, is that I constantly want to kill myself.
Yeah.
Suicidal thoughts. And that's something that is scary. I had that with my doctor the other day, and he like he's like, oh, your body is not producing progesterone.
Mhm.
So he put me in progesterone, and all of the sudden I'm like super motivated. I'm like just doing anything, and like to the at the end of the day I'm like exhausted
Yeah.
because I did so much. Like I did so much. It's like those people that have ADHD and they take
Oh, trust me,
yeah.
you're talking to one of them.
Right. And then
Sometimes I can get everything done, and then
right.
some days I'm just like, I'm gonna stare at the TV.
It's hard though because like after a few days of taking it, my body gets super super tired because I was new to that.
Yeah.
So I'm having over fatigue. And it's
Mhm.
like starting to crush, and I'm not letting my body. I'm like, no, 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 you're not going back there. Like, I'm not letting you.
Yeah.
But then that's why, like, the depression, I got this from Jim Carrey, like, deep rest. Like, your body needs deep rest, right?
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes you have to let your body become depressed like in a certain amount of time, like just to be able to just lay there and feel all those emotion and stuff like that, because you're not gonna stay there,
Yeah.
and then like just make sure that you always try to come out from that dark room, you
Yeah.
know and having like suicidal instinct, it's hard because like there are times that I would actually gather hoses because I'm so ready. Like I was having conversation with this Uber driver guy, and he was having a grief with his friend, which is only 19 years old, that killed himself, and he suffocated himself in their garage. And my fucked up brain, like, thought of that as like, oh my God, that's a really good idea.
Mm.
I can kill myself painlessly. So, like, I had this difficult morning where I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna go tonight. And I start gathering up like hoses that I was gonna attach into, like, the pipe of my car.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna like put that hose back into, like, the Mercedes, and then I'm just gonna like listen right there, and I'm like like I just did my own death pods. Just
Mm-hmm.
turn on my engine and just fall asleep and then die.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, I need help. I need help big time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, it's so important for a lot of people to be able to gain access to, like, labs, like, to see like their levels, like what's their estrogen, what's their testosterone, like, just hormones,
Yeah.
because a lot of times that's our problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't want another day where I would put a gun, like it was empty,
Sure.
like, I'd put it in my head, and I actually pulled the trigger, and I was like, oh my God, that's so fast. And I was like telling my brother, I'm like, can you please take this gun away?
Yeah.
Because, like, I know there's a lot of people that can no longer fight their demons, and I would never judge them for taking their lives. But it's very painful for those people that are left behind.
It really is, and I'm sorry that you have gone back and forth with that.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
glad you weren't successful. You
I mean,
know.
I'm still here, and, like,
Yeah.
I always say that God has purpose. He has His purpose for me.
There. Yeah. And I always think about that. I had a friend, I think a year ago. He took his life.
Mm,
He hung himself.
yeah,
And you would have never thought coming from this guy that
he seems happy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was happy, but he was just such a jokester. He's just
Oh
fun to
yeah,
be around with
yeah,
and never puts you down.
right.
Just an amazing dude.
Mm-hmm.
And he just, I don't know what went through his head that he felt that was the answer.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that people now are looking at like suicide as it's a dreadful thing. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
people are understanding like, you know, it sucks that they felt that this was,
It is.
and instead of making it so negative, they go, and the narrative is changing a little bit. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
how do we stop people from feeling that's the best solution?
Most of the time it's not actually, like,
Y-
your brain, instead of protecting you, because the normal function of the brain is to protect you from dying.
right. It's to keep you alive.
Yes, to keep you
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
I have that brain that constantly want to kill me. So it's like, it's not even like, it's like, oh my God, I gone through, like, so much difficulties in life that, like, molded me into the person I am today. But then there are those very silly things, like, you know what? I'm tired of this thing. I'm just gonna kill myself. And then I don't know why it always triggered there. But since I had the proper amount of, like, hormonal therapy, that's what helps me. As of this moment, I woke up and I would actually, like, reevaluate and stuff. I'm like, weird. I don't want to kill myself today.
Nice.
You wake up like that and you're like, I want to leave.
Yeah.
And then now, like, with everything that we were talking about earlier, with what's going on in the world, I'm like, no, not yet.
Yeah.
I'm about to, like, tackle this new, like, venture in my life, and I'm
Sure.
excited about it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, that's what they're missing is like excitement,
Mm,
purpose.
purpose.
Yeah.
It's really big.
Doing things like my parents asked me like, what makes you happy, man? Like,
Mm,
I was like, well, obviously not work. Work is work is a job, and I need
mm.
money, and I'm not stupid. Like, all this is just not appeared in my lap.
Right,
Like,
right. Yeah.
it,
You
you
have
have to
to
pay
work.
for it. You have
Yeah,
to
you have
work
to
hard.
work for it. Yeah.
But the more and more I think about it, it's like I like doing this. I like being artistic. I like creating.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I don't feel any stress. That's where I feel like, okay, if I do the camera this way.
Yeah.
You start to think about, and you forget about all things negative,
Mm-hmm.
sad, whatever it is. And I think that's what kind of is missing a lot in the world is you even see it in like schools. Oh, they got rid of the art program. They got
Right.
rid
Right.
of music.
Right.
They got rid of things that express feelings and joy. And even music that's really, really sad
Yeah.
is an expression of your mood.
Yes.
And that's like the true language, I feel. Like
Right.
going to
The
work,
music
yeah,
is.
going to work is like whatever,
Yeah.
that I don't get joy of doing like x-rays and CTs every day. It's a job. It's 100% a job. I'm
Right.
helping people.
Mm-hmm.
My dad said that too. He's like, well, you got to help others. I'm like,
Yeah, maybe look at it that
yeah.
way. Maybe look at it that way.
Yeah.
Or even if like just you don't know each of those patients what they're going through,
Yeah.
and then just showing up, being there, you do a lot for them. You know, if you show them kindness and stuff, and if that brings you happiness, being able to just maybe look at it that way.
Yeah.
Because work should not be work. It should be like something that you enjoy.
Yeah. It
And
should be fun.
right, if you actually find purpose of just doing the CT scan or all these things that you do, it probably help you. It just makes your day easier. I know it's hard to handle, like, or I mean, try to be positive with people that are going or suffering
Mhm.
through certain kind of illness and stuff like that, because most of the time they're not nice to be with.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they're just mean to you too. There's
Yes.
a lot of people, unfortunately, nowadays that don't understand how difficult, and it's not their place to understand, but like all those
Mm.
nurses and doctors and x-ray and all the techs, like to get where they're at in life was not an easy
It's not.
journey. And you
Yeah.
need to chill out on like this me first kind of attitude.
Right.
There's a thing called triage, and you need to understand it and
Yeah.
respect it.
Mhm.
Whatever you think is the worst thing, we have to look at it differently.
Yeah.
And it's not because we don't have a heart or we're not being like kind to your
Right.
situation.
Right.
There's
It's
tricks to
it's
this.
hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like, even with me, dealing with mom and dad, I mean, they are the best human being, like, that I met. But then there are certain times where it triggers, like, my mood, like, when they're not feeling too good or something like that. And I feel guilty about it, because I see it as like they're losing their mind, you know. And they are like
uh,
literally, like, they're
I didn't
having,
mean to laugh
yeah,
like that.
they're having like dementia,
Both of them?
both of them.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's like you have to think that like I am the one who has more intact brain, you know, and then I have to be more flexible and more understanding to them, because there's certain things that, like, when you're cooking breakfast, and then moms can sometimes, like, would do, oh, I'm hungry, I'm so hungry already, and I'm like, you see me cooking breakfast, like, you just wait a little bit,
Yeah.
but then I never really understood it, that they're forgetting sometimes, like, they would have a meal, and then they would start opening another meal because
Mm.
they forget that they already ate, you know.
Yeah, that's hard watching the human mind kind of disappear on people.
Yes, and that's why one of the reason why I got so fascinated with behavioral human brains, like, how do you preserve your memories, not to lost it and stuff. I see that you're big on alcohol. I hope you
Yeah.
don't drink it all the time.
Well, I don't drink. I have a little bourbon channel I do. That's fun. So everything you see here
Yeah.
is drinking slowly. This isn't
Yeah.
like consumed bottles on end.
Okay, just like what you said, this one has been
That's
here
been
for
a
2 years.
couple years.
Yeah, that's really
Um,
good.
I know alcohol is a big thing.
It's big.
Yeah.
It's really big.
But I enjoy the taste.
Yeah, I mean, like, as long as you taste. I fully stopped drinking alcohol for about 2 years now. you know. And it's not always like, it's not like I'm judgy against alcohol. Like, if it makes you happy, just like what I said, we all have what works for us. And like, we cannot deprive ourselves to be like, this so healthy and whatever, like, that we don't do anything wrong, or like, or is there any other thing, like, or it's even like wrong about what we're doing. Because it's like if you're drinking alcohol and you do it socially, it's still like, it's still fine,
Yeah.
right? As long as you don't become like, you that's just the way you live, and you come home and you drink like a whole bottle of alcohol, and then that's that's the
Yeah.
bad
Yeah,
one.
that's a problem for
Yeah.
sure.
And even with mom and dad, they're not really like alcoholic, like they hardly drink because they're both pastors.
Mm.
What dissolve their brain is the idea of retirement. Because
Mm.
here in America, when you retire, you think that, oh, I don't have to do anything anymore,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Those little dogs. They must see something in the backyard.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah, so when you finally get into the point where, like, okay, you're settling in your mind, you know, mom and dad here is the same age as my grandmother in the Philippines, and she's still farm and
Mm.
she's sharp. She's 80 years old. She still have her coffee field. She's still earning money, and she's the only one left. Like, her husband died like I mean, after a year after I got here in America. So on that behalf, it's so important to continue working, to never retire, And even if you retire, don't just settle on the couch and watch TV.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah, I totally agree. If you stop doing everything, you become just that.
yeah.
You're just kind of there, and your brain just goes, "Well, we're not using anything,
Yes. So
so
we start like,
I'm gonna start forgetting things for you." Yeah,
It's like activating what's this internal distraction.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's like,
yeah. That's I don't know. I feel bad because my watching someone go like that is tough. I don't know what kind of life that is at that point.
mm-hmm.
Like I've always told anybody, if I ever start like that, you just give me that sleeping pill that I don't wake up from because I won't know any difference. You say, "Here, Mr. Herb, here's your
Yeah,
vitamins,"
yeah,
and
that was
you,
like my plan too.
yeah, you do me the favor because I don't want to live like that. I don't want
Yeah,
to
me
put
too.
anybody through that either. That's a hard thing to watch.
It is. It
You know?
is. But it's like, if we're not going to help ourselves today, we're going to get there, you know? So it's so important to, like, pay attention for what we do now, and like what we do, because what we do now is what's going to result, or like, we're going to harvest that in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's why I think it's important to stay on top of your health, watch what you eat. I mean, easy on the alcohol if you do. I need to learn that too.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, keep your brain sharp, read books. Reading is a great tool to keep your brain
Well,
going.
I know you
Yeah.
got so into this book that you sent to me. It's like that book that has the military guy in it.
Oh, David Goggins. Yeah, I love that guy. A lot of people hate him. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
that's the kind of I like that guy so much because he's so real with how you have to treat yourself. Like, you gonna be lazy shit the rest of your life, or you gonna do something about it?
So you like that kind of approach. You like the
I like
military
that.
approach.
I like that. I like his approach. I like that in your face. Like, well, you can sit here and complain about it,
Or
but are
you
you gonna
can
do anything about it? Because I have a
yeah.
lot of friends that'll complain and complain. I'm like, well, what are you gonna do about it?
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
You've been that kind of person with me. You keep pushing me.
I
You're
have
like, why
to.
why are you not doing it? I
Yeah.
was like, there are certain things that I can just make happen.
Like going to school. I hope
Right,
you
right.
eventually go back to school. I think
I
school is
know.
important for everybody, whether you disagree with it or not. There's a lot to learn in school
I know.
about yourself too.
And
What,
I
you
do
know?
want to, and I still want to, like, create that nonprofit here in Utah that I've been planning for very long, but like, the career shift and all of that, I'm hoping that after the 6 months of my new career, it's gonna be the time where I can focus more on like going back to school.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of career, you want to say what you're about to go do?
yeah,
You
so
gotta hit the skies. Hit the
yes, I'm
skies.
gonna like hopefully like I'm gonna do my best. I'll start training for what's this, a flight attendant job for American Airline this coming March. So that's very exciting. And it was like a journey on that too. Like, I applied for Frontier, I applied for Delta, and I applied for American Airlines. And I always say Frontier, well, they got me. Like, they give me the CGO right away.
Mm.
Then the Delta happens, and I always wanted to be in Delta for some reason. And the Delta was very, very different approach. Like, their way of hiring is not really about you. It's more about like, it's about who you are and how are you going to be in a corporate world. It's very corporate. Like they ask you a question and all of that. It's about corporate. And then American Airlines happened, and it was the most amazing because I can showcase who I am. It's like having a podcast with you. Like,
Mm.
I can just so like because American Airline got to know me. They did not they did not try to get to know what I'm capable of as a worker. They get to know the person that I am. And that's amazing, and that's why I'm so excited for
Yeah.
for the company actually, like, to work for them, because I love that like, I wish a lot of companies are that way,
Yeah.
that they would like look at their employee as a human being, not some kind of robot that would do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
It's still aligned with their values.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I'm excited for you. I
Thank
know you
you.
were going for that for a while now.
It's like they received over 119,000 applicants, I think, and I think they were only accepting 1,000 people.
Dang.
So
You got in.
it's like,
Woo.
oh, thank you for my story.
Yeah, that's
Or
what's up.
it's more like, thank you for letting me you know tell you my story, and thank you for accepting me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
How are we on
I
time?
think that's good. Yeah, we can wrap it up. Well,
Okay.
yeah, that's a good conversation.
But before we wrap it up, I pretty much like, do all the questioning.
Hey,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. You're one of the few who, and that's not how this show
Yeah.
works.
No, but like
You don't
I
come in
like
and
that.
ask me stuff.
No, I like, I'd like to get to know, I like the people to get to know you, and I'd like to get to know more about you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And I want to ask you a few questions before we wrap it up. And it's like, in your perspective, how should we continue, like, living our life? Like, what's your advice on those people that has struggled mentally, like, in mental health? Like, what should they do, in your own opinion?
I think coming from someone, damn those dogs. I wonder what they're barking at. There's nothing out there. I think just don't accept the stigma.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to like express what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think more often than not, the people who struggle with it the most are the ones that just hide it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of people hiding it.
Yeah.
I try to hide it,
Mm-hmm.
but I get to the point too where I'm like, look, man, this is what's going on. I am not having a good day.
Yeah.
And I didn't used to be like that. I still struggle with not really expressing what's going on
Mm-hmm.
because I'm afraid that like, oh, we need to take you to a mental ward, or we're going to take you, like, we're going to take all away your stuff. Like, nobody's going to take away your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to take away your life. But if you need to go speak to somebody, like, go speak to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like medication is the answer, try it.
Yeah, try.
But understand that's just a Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
All medications are meant to be Band-Aids.
Right.
They're not the answer. I personally feel
Mm-hmm.
that way, but they can help you get over that hump,
Right.
whatever
Yeah.
that little struggle may be for the little tiny bit
Yeah.
in your moment of panic.
Yeah.
But that would be the biggest thing. Don't be afraid to be talk and tell people like, look, man, I'm having an off day. Here's what's going on, and you'll be surprised how more people would be more understanding
Mm-hmm.
of like your situation, and maybe you get to take another day off and like
Right.
regroup and just find healthy ways to take care of it.
Yeah.
Alcohol is the most dangerous thing you can do,
Yeah.
but it's also the most easiest. Everybody has
There's
access to it.
access to it. Yeah.
And I understand why people do lean on alcohol because
Mm.
it's readily available and they may not have access to, doctors.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. If you feel like alcohol is the answer, it's not.
Yes.
Um, try to find a way. There's clinics,
Yeah.
there's free healthcare out there.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you think alcohol may do to solve that is, I assure you, are wrong.
Yeah.
I've done that. It's I'm a lot better with it now.
Yeah.
Um, just things like that. I guess come full circle is just don't beat yourself up for
Yes. It's
if you
like
need help.
yeah, it's like we each and every one of us we have our own journey, you know. Don't compare yourself to others. Even like, sometimes what works for other people might not work for you, and what might work for you would not work for other people.
Yeah.
I think I would encourage people to be the kindest that they can be, because, I know we all have our bad days and good days. But if we just show up with a smile to other people, we don't really know how much goodness we bring to them.
Mhm.
And my last thing is that I learned this from my dog. Is like, recently, and I always say, be as forgiving as God and be as loving as a dog, because they're pure love.
They are.
Hmm.
And yeah, I love my dog to death. Dogs, they're great.
Yeah, you have like three now.
They're great little human beings
Yeah.
that expect not much from you.
Yeah.
And
Just
that's what I always try to tell myself too is like, you know what, like
learn from them.
look at life too as like how's the animal kingdom going? Like what are they doing?
Right.
They keep it very basic.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Like, they're the simplest.
they try to be happy. Well, they got to eat. Don't hurt other people, but there's some violence in
Right.
nature too, but
Yeah.
they keep it like animals. They keep it I just need basic stuff. And sometimes we get overwhelmed like
Mm.
we need this, I need that. And just try to keep your life super cool and basic, you know.
Exactly.
Get into like healthy hobbies like
Yeah.
podcasting, photography,
Photography. Yeah.
everything that
A
people
vlogger.
yeah, everything that
Yeah.
people make fun of and like, oh, everybody's got a podcast. So what?
Right. It's
You
like,
know?
it's a good memories from all those people you get to meet,
Yeah.
And it's
And
like a collaboration between, like, what works for other people and stuff like that.
yeah.
Thank you so much for having me
Yeah,
again.
thank you for coming on and like asking questions. I mean, all my other guests have, but no one's ever like kind of like peeled back the onion with me on that one. I appreciate it.
I'm glad.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
It's cool.
It's really fun.
So, all right, folks, thanks for listening, and thank you, Diana, again.
Of
And we'll
course.
catch you on the next one.
All
Okay,
right.
bye.
Bye.